Well, everybody, we are back today, and today I am pleased to present Mr. Bill Lublin. How are you, Bill?
I'm wonderful, Nick. Thank you. Thank you for
That's
having me. I've
good.
been I've been anticipating being part of your media empire
I'm
since we
trying.
talked about this a couple months ago.
We did. Well, actually, we talked about this around the holidays. Because
Some
wasn't it
holiday, I'm sure.
right?
Yeah.
It was, we were in Hershey together,
Huh?
and we talked about this, and then it just took a while to get everything, all the stars to align. So I'm super excited to have you here. So for those of you who do not know Bill, I had the pleasure of meeting Bill the year that he ran for treasurer of PAR. That was the very first time I met you, and obviously you won. So good things forward. So I got to meet you, and it was a different getting to meet somebody for the first time because you were there talking about yourself and campaigning. So I got to learn a lot about you really fast. So for those of my viewers that don't know who you are, let's do a little rundown. Who are you, Bill?
Uh, I like long walks on the beach, spring days, light misty showers. I'm a real estate guy. I have spent the majority of my life trying to help people make smart decisions about building familial and generational wealth. I own and operate the largest Century 21 in Pennsylvania, Century 21 Advantage Gold, which serves 9 counties in 2 states. We are just tiny compared to the massive real estate family owned empire you work for. But nonetheless, we do well. I am a past president of the Greater Philadelphia Association. I am currently a member of the executive committee of the National Association of REALTORS and serve on their MLS Issues and Policy Committee. I am the current president of the Pennsylvania Association of REALTORS, which represents 38,000 members in Pennsylvania. I have been teaching real estate and real estate related topics for 45 years. I've been teaching real estate technology for probably 25 years or 30 years. I rewrote the NAR ePro. How long do you want me to go on with this stuff?
You keep going, keep going. I love it.
Okay.
I'm
I have
learning
taught
new stuff.
in every state in the union except for South Dakota. I have taught in every province of Canada. I have taught real estate in the UK and Dubai. I hold 9 certifications and designations because I think that you should never stop learning. Like, there's always stuff you don't know, right? And a day where you haven't learned something, you were either wasting the day, you slept too long, or you weren't curious enough. Um, and I have a large and extensive collection of comic books.
I learned that in October.
Yeah, I
So
think everybody should have a hobby
they
of
should,
some
they
sort.
should. They really should. I think that it's a good way to unwind and just tap out for a little bit. So,
Yeah,
Bill,
oh, I'm
why
sorry.
real estate? How
Why
did you
real
get into
estate?
this world?
Well, so when I was a little boy and I grew up, I really thought I wanted to be a real estate guy. No, that's nonsense. Actually, I grew up thinking I might become an attorney. I graduated public school in Philadelphia. I went to Penn State for 4 years. I thought I was going to be an English teacher, um, maybe practice law at some point, but I really never matured enough for that. In at the end of that time, I left Penn State, and my dad, who was an insurance agent for most of my life and
Hmm.
operated an insurance company, had recently become a real estate agent. And he was a super salesperson. So he became like their top guy the first year he was there. He was, I'm going to say 57 or 58 when he changed careers. But, sales is sales, right?
Hmm.
So he did that very well. And he got me a job, and I figured I would do that temporarily until I figured out what I really wanted to do. And I was probably the worst salesperson ever hired by that company for my first year. I was 21 years old. I was really not interested in anything mature. Um, and at the end of about a year, and I would sit and watch my dad work, and he seemed to do everything so seamlessly, and I didn't understand what the process was, what the job was. And at the end of the year, I had sort of embarrassed myself being so terrible. And I left the company that I was with and went to work for another company. And again, there was no formal training at my first place. My dad tried to help me out a little bit, but there was no structure. And I walked in, and my broker said, "You come in at 9 in the morning, you work until 9 at night, Monday through Friday. Saturdays and Sundays, you're going to be here from 10 to 2. You start the day by reading something that you've probably never seen called the newspaper, and you check every ad in the newspaper to make sure you know what the inventory is in the area. If they're not represented by an agent, then you can call them directly." And after doing that for a really short period of time, I kind of found my work ethic. And I learned that it is better to work hard than it is to be highly talented, because talent without a work ethic, there's just no execution. But somebody who's willing to work hard can accomplish anything.
Yeah.
Um, at the end of a year, I was the top salesperson in that company, though I was the youngest. And the following year, I went to work for a guy named Ray Richmond, um, whose office was located actually 2 doors below my first office. I worked for him for 9 years, managing the office, which consisted of me. We did have a secretary. We managed some property. And I did hire a few people during that time to try to build it up a little bit. But we were really like, we were a boutique office, which is a way of saying small,
Yeah.
before boutique offices were a thing. We were almost a micro office. But he was very well known in the area. He was active in the Philadelphia Board of Realtors, which was the predecessor to GPAR. He had been a past president. He was a frustrated attorney. So he taught me to prepare every agreement as if I have to defend it in court.
Mm-hmm.
He taught me that words matter,
Mm-hmm.
which I kind of always knew, but words do matter. How you describe something, what you say. He taught me that uh, the only mistake he ever made in buying real estate was selling it. That when someone asks you what the value of a property is, your first question should be, "Are we buying it or selling it?" Um, and I learned a lot from him. And then after that, I opened as an independent, and then ended up having a Century 21 franchise and growing the company to what it is now. But
Yeah.
always served on some level, local, state, or national, in the Realtor Association, because I think there's a difference between selling for a living, being a professional, how you carry yourself, and what you owe to the industry. And the industry has been very good to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to be good back.
So you already got to my next question, which was, why are you involved? And I think my new question for you, based off of what you just said, is what made you realize that there was value in being involved?
So you grew up in a different world in the real estate industry than I did. When I started, actually only the broker was a realtor. And the people that worked for them, their salespeople, um, were just sales agents. In
Interesting.
1973, the National Association of Realtors allowed a class of membership called Realtor Associate. And I was so excited to be something other than a salesperson,
Yeah.
because salespeople have, there's a negative implication to the term,
Racism. Yeah.
just like it's more negative to say somebody's a landlord than a housing provider, right? Even though they're both the same job.
Mm-hmm.
So I joined voluntarily because I wanted to hold myself accountable to a code of ethics. I wanted to um, make it to show my clients that there was a difference to my intention and service than just somebody who got a real estate license. Of course, in I think it was 75 or 76, it became a single class of members, and then we were all realtors. Um, But again, working for a guy who had been a past president of the local association, I just met a lot of people who were well respected in the business, not necessarily because of how much they made, though many of them were very successful, but more because of what they did, how they championshiped consumer friendly legislation, how they were thoughtful about how they worked with people, serving on professional standards or grievance. I mean, my very first committee is almost a goofy committee when I tell people about it now. It was called the Make America Better Committee. It was a committee structured by the National Association and implemented by local associations. And the idea was that each local association would do something for their community that made America better, right? Like, we weren't trying to make it great again. We were just trying to make what we already had a little bit better. So for 2 years, I was involved in this specific committee, and we ran anti-graffiti campaigns in Philadelphia, and we conducted art competitions in the local middle and high schools, gave away money, and the idea was to direct the kids' creative impulses away from tagging buildings and into creating other things. This, of course, is way before Basquiat, or any of the great street artists that we've learned to appreciate years later.
Yeah.
Actually, my very first appointment to the committee, I was really nervous. I was in my early 20s. Like, the Philadelphia board was downtown. It's a 45-minute drive from my office. And it was a big deal because we had local chapters at the time, but this was the big board, the Philadelphia Board of Realtors. It was a charter member of the National Association since 1908. So it was very impressive for me. I had to go down to a skyscraper, take an elevator, go up to the upper level and sit with guys that were 10, 20, 30 years older than I was, for whom I had a great deal of respect. And I went to my broker just before I left for the meeting, and I said, Ray, I don't know what to do when I get down there. He said, just try not to break anything and leave it better when you leave than it was when you got there. And that is what I have spent the rest of my career doing in service in association work. And from that, I actually met Marie Perry. I served with her on that first committee. She is the beloved mother of our past president, Al Perry, and later became my partner in real estate before Al and I became partners. I met Frank Deischer, who also I later did business with, who was, again, really well known in Philadelphia. He was a second or third generation realtor. So you get to meet really great people in that, and you learn.
Yeah.
So that's why I do it, and that was how I started.
So if you had somebody new just getting into the industry, what would be 2 pieces of advice you'd give them?
Well, what's my goal? Am I trying to help them be more productive as an agent? Am I trying to help them understand the industry better? Or am I trying to help them build a career that's worth having?
Do all 3.
Do all 3.
Yep.
And I get 2 things to tell them.
2 things per
Thank you.
each. So you get 6.
I think it's a little hard. I think the first thing I would tell them is that they should spend each day making sure that they're doing income producing activities. That would be the first thing. If you're not talking to a buyer, a seller, a housing provider, or a tenant, you're probably not doing anything to make money, because it's the contracts that we have with those 4 people that help us make a living. So if you're busy, don't wait for so we used to have these things called desk phones, landlines, and my broker was very fond of saying that phone works both ways.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of waiting for the phone to call in, you can use the phone to call out and ask people whether or not they can use your services. I was so goofy with that if I went out to eat, and I've always been a chronic over tipper, because I think servers have really hard jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So when I would overtip, I would leave a business card. And when people asked me what I did, I would always say to them, I sell used houses. Would you like to buy one? And oddly enough, there were times like everybody laughed when I said that. But the truth is, I got a number of transactions out of people who said, actually, not me, but my son, my sister, my cousin, my aunt, because I was pleasant to them, and that worked. And I think the other thing that I would say to them is think about the real estate industry in a perspective that is larger than your next transaction, right? There's much more to it. This is the worst job in the world and the best career you could possibly have. As a job, you go in, and at many jobs you can go in at 9 in the morning, work until 5 at night, and your level of production or your level of effectiveness doesn't impact how much you get paid. We're the only industry that I can think of, and I've actually spent time trying to find one that is completely success based in terms of when we get paid. And I'll give you an example. I had a new agent of ours last year, got her first listing. She had 13 offers on the property.
Yes.
One of them, of course, got accepted. All 13 people did the same job with varying degrees of effectiveness. They probably showed this property and probably showed others. They discussed the neighborhood with them. They talked about financing options. They either arranged for them to meet or spoke with a lender who helped pre-qualify them. They discussed the negotiations for the property. They prepared an agreement of sale. They put together whatever additional documents they needed to make their agreement stronger. So they all did some version of the same job, right? Checking comps, talking about value, discussing the best offer to make. But only one of them got paid. The other 12 people may have gotten paid later or may never have gotten paid. I think last year, the National Association of REALTORS home buyers and sellers surveys showed that on average, agents wrote 4 agreements for every one that was accepted. Now that's on average. I mean, you're an active agent and you operate a successful team. And I'm sure there are times when you're on the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th offer. I was speaking to an agent yesterday. He said, I wrote 8 offers for this one couple. We haven't gotten anything accepted yet. But that means when he finally gets a deal accepted, he's really only made 1/9 or 1/10 or however many, agreements he wrote as he should have, because he did the same job each time. Now, of course, the consumer learned more each time. Maybe they'll make a higher offer next time. Maybe their terms will become better. But really, as I do, that often we do everything we can, we do everything right, and the deal just doesn't happen for our buyer or
Yep.
for our seller. So it's I used to say that real estate people are very foolish and not too bright, because we get into the business thinking that we're going to make a lot of money without working hard. And then some of us, like you and I, stay around even when we find out that's not true.
Yep.
So I don't know if we became smarter or sillier when we decided to keep working. But over the long term, if you are thorough, as I know you are, if you're hardworking, as I know you and your teammates are, we make a good living. We positively impact people's lives. We help solve huge life impacting problems for them sometimes, or give them the basis to build familial and generational wealth, which I think is crucial.
Correct. Stop lead providers from auctioning off the buyer leads generated from your listings. Meet InstaShow Plus, a premier showing management system built to generate, qualify, and convert buyer leads for you. Agents receive verified leads, and you never meet unqualified or unidentified prospects. Take control of your leads and your safety today. Learn more by emailing us at hello@instashowplus.com. That's hello@instashowplus.com, or call us at 877-877-8030.
Transform your product with DB360 soft washing. Say goodbye to dirt, grime, and stains with DB360 soft washing, the experts in safe, effective, and exterior cleaning. We specialize in soft washing, roofing, siding, driveways, walkways, decks, fences, commercial and residential, eco-friendly solutions, and insured. Call us today at 717-691-1712 or visit us at db360wash.com. DB360 soft washing, clean you can trust.
Need a handyman? Call the Handyman Guy, LLC. For small fixes to major projects, call the Handyman LLC, deliver professional, reliable, affordable services. Our experiences, repairs, painting, plumbing, electrical, carpentry, furniture assembly, and much, much more. Licensed, insured, and definitely quality guaranteed. Call our number, 717-819-5453. Visit us at thathandymanguy.com. The Handyman Guy LLC, your trusted home fix expert. Thank you. Have a great day.
Hey, realtors, are you still calling, emailing, texting, or even sending a Word doc just to keep your clients updated? There's a better way. Tracker gives your buyers and sellers a visual timeline of the entire process, from your first consultation to showings, offers, escrow, key contract dates, and closing. They can log in anytime to see what's happening and where they are in the process, all with your personal branding. It gives your clients a smoother experience, saves you time, and helps you earn more referrals. Try it for free for 14 days and just $10 a month at tracker.app. That's TRACKRE.app.
So this year, your year of president, although you've had a abnormal run because you had to be acting president last year, so you had a little bit of experience. I think that's going to help you this year. I'm sure you feel the same. You got a great leg up, in my opinion. You're doing a wonderful job.
Thank you.
What would you say are two goals that you had in mind starting this year out during your presidency?
So, it's funny you talk about the president's year, and we're coming up on 6 months, and I'm already feeling like I'm on the downhill of this mountain and on the way to
This
my goal of
two-year
becoming.
mountain.
Right. But I think your goal should always be to be an immediate past president, right? You want to get past the goal. For me, it's about having an aligned leadership team, and it's about moving the association forward. Like my broker said to me all those many years ago, I just don't want to break anything, and I want to leave it better when I leave than it was when I got there. And we've done a few things to do that. Michael House, who's the chairman of our DEI committee, and I spoke at the beginning of the year about how we wanted the DEI committee to actually do something beyond having meetings, to improve communication, education, support our minority real estate associations, like the Real Estate Alliance, NAREB, and ARIA. And we're actually going to have in September, with the help of 3 of our local partner associations, our first DEI event outside of our business meetings, where we'll have agents from the local communities, lenders and vendors from the local communities, working together to talk about how we can increase home ownership and make the American dream possible for all Americans. So that's huge for me. And Michael is terrific. He's focused. He's a great chair, and I'm really excited we're going to do that. We had a new strategic plan put in place the end of 24, and as our strategic plan are 3-year plans. So we wanted to. We had a few additional things. I mean, DEI has always been a big focus of ours. We have a technology initiative where we're trying to bring more technology partnerships to the association to benefit our members, to either increase their efficiency, save them money, or increase their production. And we're also working on a global initiative that our strat planning committee came up with to try to increase the participation of global investors in, buying and leasing real estate in Pennsylvania. We're a strategically located state. We are really moderately priced all across the state. We have great rail, road, and flight infrastructures. There's just a lot that made us, many years ago, manufacturing capitals. Philadelphia made Stetson hats and Baldwin locomotives, and there was a lot of textile manufacturing in Philadelphia. Pittsburgh, of course, famous for steel. Bethlehem and Allentown for the same. So we have all of these hard assets, these facilities, and the ability to transport them that we want to make available to international users, purchasers, and companies. So we're moving those things forward. But more importantly, I have a great leadership team with me. David Dean from Pittsburgh, who's our president-elect, Eric Railing from Tri-County, and of course Heather Patrone-Shook from Philadelphia. So and I think we're pretty much aligned in trying to move these things forward. But our organization, as you know, is really driven by the strategic plan and operates, I've been using the term in conversations, at the pleasure of our board of directors. So we have a large board of directors, realtors from all over the state that have been appointed or elected by their local associations to come to Harrisburg. We have over 200 directors from across the state, and we turn over about a third of them each year. And frankly, everything the association does is reviewed, discussed, and approved by our board of directors. We are one of the most decentralized power groups that you can imagine in our industry. And I think so far we've managed to be pretty responsive to their requests as rapidly as they sometimes change. And I think that will continue with David, Eric, and Heather, all of whom are really smart, really thoughtful. We meet frequently to either talk or text together to make sure we're pretty much on the same page moving things forward. Because I only get to be president for a year, but I get to serve on leadership teams with people that I learn from, and that I get the pleasure of working with. And, sometimes you learn good things and sometimes you learn things that aren't so great. But the object is to move the organization forward at all times, because we are only custodians or caretakers for our period of time. So if that's maybe the longest non-answer you've ever gotten.
No, but it was a good one, and I think it lets people see into your leadership team and what your true goal is there, because that was nothing but passion right there, for sure.
Sorry, I have to pull myself off.
How to do this with me today?
Yeah.
Because we all know I say shocking things.
I'm good. You have not shocked me yet, though. I do love the fact that you are frequently floating on lights.
Yeah.
That your shoe wear is electrified.
Yep.
Or electrifying.
Yep. So, what would you say are two bad habits this industry has that they need to kick?
That the industry has that they need to kick.
Yep.
Okay.
Realtors, real estate licensees in general, that you've seen that they really need to stop doing.
They need to stop thinking that the organizations created by and manned and womaned by realtors are not them. I'm a really big believer that if you don't participate in the solution. You're, if not part of the problem, you're certainly exacerbating the problem. You're making it worse, right? If you know, when I was a kid and litter was a thing, there was a famous television commercial. Television is like Netflix, but it's broadcast stations. Just in case you didn't have one when you were little, I'm teasing you. There were a lot of commercials back in those days. There was one that was a black and white commercial of a Native American, very handsome man in Native American garb, standing on a promontory, an outlook over a beautiful river and forest, and seeing litter at the bottom of the area next to the river, with a single tear coming out of his eye for what we were all losing because people were being thoughtless. I kind of feel that way to some degree when people complain about NAR or PAR or their local association, but they've never been to an NAR event. They've never come to the PAR business meetings. They've never really participated in their local. And to them, they are some sort of regulatory organization, which we are not. You know, we're a trade association. We're there so that our influence can be felt on the local, state, and national levels to benefit people that want to buy and sell, lease and rent real estate, because that's what we're about, right? I mean, you know that in Pennsylvania, we got legislation passed last year to require people that were wholesaling real estate to get their real estate licenses. And I'm fascinated because I get calls from wholesalers all the time because I own a fairly good sized portfolio of property along with a partner. And they will call and ask me if I want to sell a piece of real estate. And I will ask, are you a wholesaler? Yes, I am. Do you have your real estate license now? No, I don't. But I can do this and do that. No. Those are tasks that you can only do if you're a real estate agent. You need to get your license, or you are practicing real estate without a license, and there are penalties for that. So I was really happy that we were able to get that passed, and the municipal Certification Ordinance Compliance Act, MCOCA, that we were able to get a law passed through the state legislature that allowed us to say to small townships whose license and inspections people wanted to make their municipal certification something beyond what they were supposed to. No, you can't do that. You now have to comply with the municipal certificate ordinance as it's laid out by the state, because it's a weird law. The state creates the law, but the municipalities enforce it. So those are huge benefits to practitioners, and people that are not members of the association get that benefit, but they don't think of that. And they don't think of, you know, you've gone on Hill Day, and I'll see you. You'll be on Hill Day again next week, I believe, I hope.
I actually forgot.
Okay.
It was hilarious.
Okay.
I agreed to do something, and Jody was there, and she goes, you can't do that. I said, why? She goes, Hill Day, and I'm like, oh crap, yeah, I can't go. Sorry, and yeah, so I'll be there with you.
Okay, good. So Hill Day, as you know, are hundreds of realtors going in and knocking on the doors of our state representatives and explaining to them our positions on really important laws. And it's funny, I was impressed with, first of all, we have a beautiful Capitol building. Like anybody who watches your podcast who has not gone to Harrisburg and just walked in the Capitol building, you're missing a real treat for your eyes.
Yeah.
But when we go in there, I was amazed at how willing to listen to us these politicians are, and how much respect they have for our organization. And people that are not active in the associations don't see those benefits. Many years ago in Philadelphia, the association was able to get a refund of millions of dollars for consumers because Philadelphia City Council had passed an increase in the transfer tax in the middle of the night when they weren't supposed to be doing that. And we went to court and we got tons of money back for people that had paid this huge transfer tax for a period of time. And then it went back down. And of course, now years later, it's going back up. But still, the local and state associations are working on it. And our national association makes sure that things like the mortgage insurance deduction, capital gains, SALT limits, those things are taken care of on the national basis. None of those things could be done without the associations of realtors, from Realtors Association of Metropolitan Pittsburgh to GPAR to Pocono Mountains to every one of the associations in our state and they make up PAR. I mean, we are only the total of those associations, and NAR is only the total of the state associations. So essentially, it's one organization with 3 levels of service to get the job done. So that's that. That was one thing I said was bad.
And I'll add to yours right there and just say, when I first got involved, I was overwhelmed. And I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to have my voice heard, never going to have my voice heard. And it's funny because I just speak. I don't care who's in the room. And I've watched now my words change multiple things at multiple different levels. And I think that that's what a lot of people need to overcome in themselves is, you think what you're about to say isn't going to be heard, but I will say at, the locals and the state level and the national level, it will be heard. And if it truly is a good idea, they'll do everything in their power to listen to it and amend and do what we can do to make it happen.
No,
Sure.
I agree. And it really is funny because there are some people that I'll speak to. Yeah, it was funny. I've been told that I'm very much. I was at an event. I serve on the board of the California Regional MLS, the second largest MLS in the country, as a strategic director. And I was at an event where they were doing their strat plan last week. And during that, somebody I knew who's very involved in the MLS world from the Midwest said to me, "You're really, you're a true believer. You're really an association guy." And I listened to his presentation. He came back. I said, I think I am. I said, but it's really not that I'm an association guy. I'm a team guy. So whatever my team is, I want that team to prosper. I want to do my piece for that team to move ahead. And that's really part of this, thinking, you're, for example, as I've come to know you, you're somebody who's really very engaged in doing what's right for the community, whatever community that is, whether it's our personal tribe or our business tribe or our geographic tribe, it doesn't matter. We want to try to make things better for everyone, because if things are only good for me and they're really bad for everybody else, it's not as much fun.
No.
I mean,
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's really important. And the people that think those organizations don't listen are the people that go to Facebook to get, that's the other thing a new agent should never do. Don't go to Facebook and ask random people stupid business questions. You look like a moron. You get really bad answers.
Yep.
I mean,
or if you go out there and you complain about something yet you have none of the facts correct.
Oh yeah. That's actually,
stay off social media.
That's endemic. Yeah, that's endemic though. I mean, people need to work more on what they know and less on what they think.
Yep. For
Right.
sure.
Because I had there was a recent event where a CEO of a large national company complained that organized real estate was coming after his company. And there are people that work for his company that I know that are on the leadership team, the extended leadership team, the executive committee of the organization that he thinks is chasing him. So he may think that, but he certainly doesn't know it. And frankly, it's not true. So Yeah, you gotta operate from, and there are no two sets of facts,
Mm-mm.
right? I mean, some things are just binary. They're either true or they're untrue. They're not true for me and not true for you. I mean, except temperature. You know, I can be in a room with my girlfriend, and she thinks it's cold, and I think it's comfortable. Those are subjective. That's an opinion. However, if it's 72 degrees, it is 72 degrees for both of us. And that's the difference between subjective and objective in my world.
Yeah, I love it. Well, Bill, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me today. It was greatly
Pleasure.
appreciated, and as always, you bring a smile to my face.
People have been laughing at me most of my life. So I'm happy to continue that trend. Thank you for having me, Nick. This was an absolute pleasure.
Definitely. We'll have to have you back.
Hope so.
Yes, thanks.